One more before I answer some questions. Sunday ticket case. And I continue to trudge through the 2,506-page transcript. I think I'm somewhere in 600, 650, I don't know. And I've done some posts at PFT, and I intend to finish it. I want to get it all done before the argument happens on July 31. That's when the parties return to court for Judge Philip Gutierrez to take up the question of whether he should enter judgment as a matter of law for the NFL, or alternatively, take the damages award of $4.7 billion, which will be tripled if and when the verdict becomes an official judgment, to $14.1 billion. Take that down to $1. That was another thing the NFL requested. So what happened yesterday, or the day before, losing track of my days, I think it was 2 days ago, the plaintiffs submitted a 25-page written memorandum of law responding to the arguments made a couple of weeks ago by the NFL. And the NFL focused heavily on the idea that there were two formulas presented by the plaintiffs for calculating the damages caused by the antitrust violation at the heart of the case. And just by way of quick refresher or introduction for those of you who haven't been following the case, Sunday ticket, the out-of-market game package. You have to buy the whole package at a premium price, specifically put in place to discourage fans from getting it so they would watch the games in their local markets on CBS and Fox and keep the ratings for CBS and Fox high. It was determined by a jury that that is an antitrust violation. The 32 teams coming together to handpick DirecTV, to sell the out-of-market rights, to require the price to be high, to discourage fans from getting it so that they'll watch CBS and Fox instead and keep the ratings up. The NFL was trying to balance it here so they get maximum money from CBS and Fox, maximum money from DirecTV. That's an antitrust violation. That's been determined. Now, the NFL is still trying to attack that on appeal. But one of the big issues to be resolved later this month, the jury, according to the NFL, rejected the two models for calculating the damages presented by the plaintiffs. And the jury basically got out their iPhones, pulled up the calculator app, and came up with their own number. And the NFL's position is you can't do that. They've rejected the arguments presented by the plaintiffs for how to calculate damages, and they just came up with their own formula. You can't do that. And on the surface, there's some appeal to that. Like, yeah, do we really want juries to just do whatever they want to do, come up with whatever they want to come up with, even if it's not supported by the evidence? Here's the reality. The number they came up with, $4.7 billion, is less than the highest number that the plaintiffs put in. The plaintiffs argued that if the NFL, by way of its 32 teams acting independently, had distributed the out-of-market games on cable channels, FS1, ESPN2, whatever. Envision a world like college football. That's the example they used. Because, on a college Saturday, you turn on the TV, and here's this game, here's that game, here's this game, here's that game, here's this game, here's that game. If they had done that, if they had gotten rid of this exclusive Sunday ticket satellite-only package and just sold the games, out-of-market games, to all the cable channels out there. So at 1 o'clock Eastern on a Sunday, you'd have 9 games on different channels. On the cable package you already have bought, it costs you nothing over and above what you're already paying for access to those channels. So based on that reality, where it costs you no additional money to have Sunday ticket versus what the plaintiffs paid, the number is $7 billion. That was the high end. The other model was like around, I think, high 3, 4 billion, something like that. Well, the number the jury came up with was not dead set in the middle, but it was between the high and the low. And the argument is, look, when you break the antitrust laws and you force a jury to figure out an alternate reality where you hadn't violated the antitrust laws, it's going to be a little messy. It's not going to be perfect. And I'll give you an example. Okay. If I'm in an accident, if I'm in a car accident, it's somebody else's fault, there will be a specific amount of medical bills, of lost wages if I can't work for a certain period of time. Those things can all be proven and shown. Those are clear. what I lost because of what you did when you rear-ended me, T-boned me, whatever you did while driving your car, while you were texting or whatever, those are my damages. Very easy to figure those out. When you're a defendant who has created an antitrust violation by basically fixing the price of Sunday Ticket to discourage fans from buying it and to gouge your most avid fans. And let's remember, at the end of the day, what the NFL did here, they used the passion of their most ardent fans against them. They took advantage of the fact that people love football so much and want to watch their favorite team when they don't live in the market where that team plays so much that they're willing to be screwed in what the price was. It's virtually impossible to come up with any specificity on what it should have cost if they hadn't done that. So that's the thrust of the document that the plaintiffs submitted earlier this week. You don't get to second guess the jury's work. They found a violation. They came up with a number. They called it a runaway verdict at one point. It's not a runaway verdict when it is less than the highest number that was introduced by way of evidence that got to the jury. $7 billion was introduced. The jury went with 4.7. And the NFL has tried to reverse engineer and say, oh, it's improper that they did what they did. No. You can't do that. To boil it all down, as simple as it can possibly be, with no legalese, the plaintiffs are saying you just can't do that. You can't try to crack the code on why a jury did what it did. Evidence was submitted at 7. The jury went with 4.7, and that's it. That's it. And you know what happens often in cases like this? Let's say you have all the jurors who believe that the NFL was in the wrong. And in this case, they all believed it. Unanimous jury. NFL's wrong. To get to a unanimous verdict on damages, you may have to compromise a little bit. There may have been some people in the room that wanted to do 7. There may have been some people in the room that wanted to do 2. Maybe one of them said, I don't buy any of this damage. They compromise. Juries do that all the time. Cases don't get resolved by a jury without letting them from time to time compromise. It is a far from perfect system, but is the only one we have. Well, it's not the only one we have. It's the one we have if you don't have, a separate secret rigged kangaroo court of in-house arbitration that you force everyone to use. That's why we talked about this earlier. We know why big companies hate lawyers. This is also why big companies want to arbitrate. They want to take juries out of the mix because it is messy. It is vague. It is ambiguous. When you have big numbers that get put in front of a jury, they can come up with any formula they want. As long as it's not more than the evidence you put in, they're going to have a hard time making this go away. Now, it all comes down to what the judge decides to do. And there will be appeals. This is going to hang around for multiple more years. But, folks, remember this. $4.7 billion times 3, $14.1 billion, over $440 million per team. And even if the NFL ultimately wins, it's been established by this jury verdict that the NFL committed a federal antitrust violation in order to gouge their most loyal customers to get them to overpay for something that should have been available to them for a lot less money. And they did it in order to preserve the ratings of CBS and Fox because they wanted you. They argued at trial, this is all about choices. They wanted you to choose to just watch the games that were available to you from your local CBS and Fox affiliate. They didn't want you to choose to watch the out-of-market games because they wanted to keep those ratings as high as they possibly could be. And they tried to thread this needle to get the billions from CBS and Fox and the billions from DirecTV. So remember, they got to figure out what they're going to do going forward. I don't know if they're going to make any big changes until they lose. And if they ultimately lose like 3 years from now, the case only goes through 2022. You've got 23, 24, 25, maybe 26 by the time this is all said and done. Once it's all said and done, they're going to have to change their ways if they lose. If this goes all the way to the Supreme Court and the end result is, sorry, this is an antitrust violation and you must pay, they're going to have to change the way they do things. And Sunday Ticket is going to be available to all of us at a lot less money than what we've been paying.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.